The courtroom was packed, every seat taken, and a heavy silence filled the air. The judge adjusted his glasses, glancing at the peculiar sight before him. A paralyzed golden retriever lying motionless on a soft blanket at the front of the room. This wasn't an ordinary court case. It wasn't about money or crime. It was about life, love, and a dying dog's final wish. Max, the dog at the center of this emotional trial, was no stranger to hardship. His frail body, once full of life, now told a story of pain and perseverance. A tragic accident had left him paralyzed from the waist down, but even in his weakest moments, Max's loyalty and love for his family never wavered. Today, he was here for one last chance to stay with the people he loved most. Sarah, Max's owner, sat close by, her hands trembling as she held her young daughter's hand. Tears welled in her eyes as she glanced at her beloved companion. Max wasn't just a dog to her. He was family. He had been her protector, her children's best friend, and the source of endless joy in their lives. But now, his days were numbered, and Sarah was fighting for him in ways she never imagined. The case had taken the small town by storm. Some argued that Max, due to an earlier incident with a neighbor, was a liability. Others, who knew the dog's true heart, rallied behind Sarah, offering their support. But today, it wasn't about opinions. It was about one question. Could love and loyalty outweigh the accusations against Max? As the judge prepared to hear the final arguments, the tension in the room was palpable. Max lifted his head weakly, his eyes scanning the room until they landed on Sarah and her children. His tail gave a faint wag, and a collective gasp echoed through the courtroom. It was as if Max knew this moment was his last chance to prove something far greater than his innocence, his unwavering devotion. What was Max's final wish, and why did it leave everyone in the room in tears? Let's go back to where this heart-wrenching journey began. Before the courtroom and the tear-filled verdict, Max was just an ordinary dog living an extraordinary life. A golden retriever with a shiny coat and a wagging tail that could light up any room. He was the heart of Sarah's small family. Sarah, a single mother working tirelessly to provide for her 2 children, often said that Max wasn't just a pet. He was their protector, companion, and constant source of joy. Max entered Sarah's life when her youngest child, Lily, was just a toddler. Sarah had adopted him from a shelter, where he had been abandoned as a puppy. From the moment Sarah brought him home, Max became an inseparable part of their family. He would sleep at the foot of Lily's bed, watch over Sarah as she worked late into the night, and guard their modest home with unwavering vigilance. Their bond only deepened over the years. Max wasn't just loyal, he was brave. Once, when Lily wandered too close to a busy road, Max barked furiously, alerting Sarah just in time to pull her daughter to safety. Another time, he stood between Sarah's son, Jacob, and a snake lurking in their backyard, putting himself at risk to protect his family. In their small town, Max became known as the guardian dog, admired by everyone who met him. But life took a tragic turn one rainy evening. It had been a long day for Sarah. She was rushing to get home from work, her mind preoccupied with bills that needed paying and the upcoming parent-teacher meeting. The rain poured down in heavy sheets, making the roads slick and dangerous. As Sarah pulled into the driveway, she noticed Max barking at something across the street, a neighbor's dog that had gotten loose. Without hesitation, Max darted into the road to chase the dog away from danger. But in the blink of an eye, headlights appeared. A car came speeding around the corner, its tires screeching against the wet pavement. Sarah screamed, but it was too late. The car struck Max, sending him tumbling to the ground. Sarah ran to him, her heart pounding in her chest. Max's eyes were open, but he couldn't move his back legs. His body trembled as Sarah cradled him in her arms, whispering, "Stay with me, Max. Please, stay with me." The driver stopped and apologized profusely, but Sarah could only focus on her beloved dog. She rushed Max to the nearest vet, praying for a miracle. The veterinarian's words hit Sarah like a punch to the stomach. "Max has suffered a severe spinal injury. He's paralyzed from the waist down. Surgery might help, but there's no guarantee he'll recover." The surgery was expensive, far beyond what Sarah could afford. But she refused to give up. Max had given her family everything: his loyalty, his protection, his unconditional love. She owed it to him to fight for his life. Sarah took on extra shifts at work, sold a few cherished belongings, and even set up a fundraiser in her community. Slowly, she raised enough money for Max's surgery. But even after the operation, Max remained paralyzed. The vet suggested euthanasia, saying it might be the kindest option. Sarah couldn't bear the thought. Max isn't just a dog, she told the vet through tears. He's family, and family doesn't give up on each other. As if Max's injury wasn't enough, a new challenge arose. Sarah's neighbor, Mr. Grayson, filed a lawsuit against her. He claimed that Max, in his injured state, posed a danger to the community. According to him, Max had growled at his young son one day, and the incident left his family feeling threatened. Sarah was devastated. Max had always been gentle, even in his pain. She suspected the claim was exaggerated, but Mr. Grayson's complaints gained traction in their small town. Some people sided with him, arguing that a paralyzed dog's quality of life wasn't worth the risk. Others rallied around Sarah, offering their support and standing up for Max. The case escalated quickly, and soon Sarah found herself in a legal battle she hadn't anticipated. If the court ruled against her, Max could be taken away and possibly euthanized. It was the ultimate betrayal for a dog who had done nothing but love and protect his family. Just as Sarah began to lose hope, a compassionate lawyer named Daniel Andrews heard about her story. He reached out, offering to represent her and Max pro bono. "This isn't just about a dog," Daniel said during their first meeting. "It's about loyalty, love, and what it means to fight for family." Daniel helped Sarah gather evidence of Max's character, testimonials from neighbors, photos of him playing with children, and videos of his heroic acts. The community's support grew stronger, with many writing letters to the court on Max's behalf. Meanwhile, Max's condition continued to decline. Sarah could see it in his eyes. He was tired. But every time she sat beside him stroking his fur, he wagged his tail weakly, as if to say, "I'm still here." One night, as Sarah lay beside Max on the floor, she whispered, "I promise I'll fight for you. You've given us everything. Now it's my turn." The day of the trial arrived, and Sarah walked into the courtroom with Max by her side. She carried him gently, his frail body resting on a soft blanket. The room was packed with supporters, reporters, and curious onlookers. All eyes were on Max, who lifted his head and looked around with a calm, trusting gaze. The stakes were clear. If Sarah lost, Max wouldn't just lose his home, he'd lose his life. But if they won, Max could spend his remaining days surrounded by the family he loved so deeply. As Sarah sat down and held Max close, she glanced at the judge, who was carefully reviewing the case files. The tension in the room was palpable. This was more than a legal battle. It was a fight for love, loyalty, and the unbreakable bond between a dog and his family. The courtroom buzzed with whispers as Sarah took her seat beside Max, who lay on a padded blanket. His eyes, once bright and full of life, followed Sarah's every move as if silently cheering her on. It wasn't just a legal battle, it was a fight for Max's life. The neighbor, Mr. Grayson, sat across the aisle, flanked by his lawyer. He was a middle-aged man with a stern expression, adamant that Max was a danger to his family. "This dog has growled at my son," he stated firmly. "He's unpredictable and could harm someone." Sarah's lawyer, Daniel Andrews, countered immediately. "Max is paralyzed. He can't even walk, let alone pose a threat. This case isn't about danger, it's about a family's love for their dog." The judge, a stoic woman with glasses perched on the tip of her nose, listened intently. She glanced at Max, who lay motionless, his tail twitching faintly when Sarah stroked his fur. "We'll hear all sides before reaching a decision," she said firmly. Daniel called Sarah to the stand first. Her voice trembled as she recounted Max's story. "I adopted Max when he was just a puppy. He's been with us through everything: sickness, financial struggles, and heartbreak. He saved my daughter's life when she wandered too close to the road. Max isn't just a dog. He's family." Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes, and even the judge seemed to soften as she listened. Next, Daniel called neighbors and friends who had witnessed Max's loyalty and courage. One neighbor, Mrs. Carter, shared a heartwarming story. "My son was terrified of dogs until he met Max. That dog taught my boy kindness and patience. Max doesn't have a mean bone in his body." The turning point came when Sarah's daughter, Lily, took the stand. Clutching a stuffed animal, the 8-year-old spoke with innocence and sincerity. "Max is my best friend," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "He makes me feel safe when I'm scared. Please don't take him away." The courtroom grew silent. Even Mr. Grayson shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Mr. Grayson's lawyer presented their side, arguing that Max, despite being paralyzed, had growled at his son during a visit to Sarah's home. "The dog's behavior is unpredictable," the lawyer stated. "And what happens if he gets worse? What if he snaps under stress?" Daniel responded calmly. "Max growled because he was in pain, not because he's dangerous. Pain can make anyone, human or animal, react defensively. But Max has never harmed anyone." The tension in the room escalated. The judge asked to see evidence of Max's supposed aggression. Mr. Grayson produced a video of the incident, but it only showed Max lying on his blanket, barking weakly as the boy approached too quickly. The courtroom murmured. The footage didn't prove danger. It showed a dog protecting his space while in pain. As the court proceedings stretched into weeks, Max's condition worsened. Sarah noticed his energy fading. He struggled to lift his head, and his appetite dwindled. Late at night, she would sit beside him, stroking his fur and whispering, "We're going to get through this, Max. Just hold on a little longer." But Max's body was giving up, even if his spirit wasn't. One evening, as Sarah worked on case documents, Lily called out, "Mom, Max isn't moving." Sarah rushed to his side, finding him lying still, his breathing shallow. She called the vet, who arrived within the hour. "He's exhausted," the vet said gently. "The stress of everything is taking a toll. He needs rest, Sarah. Lots of it." Sarah felt her heart break a little more. Every day was a battle, and Max's strength was slipping away. But every time she looked into his eyes, she saw determination. He wasn't ready to give up, and neither was she. Amidst the heartbreak, a glimmer of hope appeared. One day, while sorting through old photos, Sarah found a picture of Max as a young dog, standing proudly beside Lily. The sight of his strong, healthy frame brought back memories of his heroism. Determined to remind the court of Max's true nature, Sarah worked with Daniel to compile a scrapbook of Max's life. It included photos, stories, and even letters from the community. "This isn't just about saving Max," Daniel said. "It's about showing everyone what love and loyalty really mean." At the next court hearing, Daniel presented the scrapbook to the judge. He flipped through pages of Max's life, a picture of him rescuing Lily, another of him playing with neighborhood kids, and a heartfelt letter from a family Max had comforted during a tough time. The judge paused, her expression unreadable, as she read through the letters. When she looked up, there was a glimmer of something softer in her eyes. "This dog seems to have touched many lives," she remarked. Word of the case spread beyond their small town. Animal lovers across the country heard about Max's story through local news and social media. Donations poured in to cover Max's medical expenses, and messages of support flooded Sarah's inbox. One day, a man named Tom, who had once been saved by his service dog, reached out to Sarah. "I know what it's like to fight for an animal that's given you everything," he said. "Don't give up." The outpouring of love gave Sarah the strength she needed to keep fighting. The courtroom became a symbol of something bigger than one dog's life. It became a place where people rallied for hope, love, and second chances. The final court hearing was set for the following week. Sarah carried Max into the courtroom, his frail body wrapped in a soft blanket. The room was packed with reporters, supporters, and even strangers who had been moved by Max's story. As the judge prepared to deliver her verdict, she paused and said, "Before we proceed, I'd like to see Max one last time." Sarah gently placed Max on the floor. He looked up at her, wagged his tail weakly, and then did something no one expected. He crawled toward Lily and rested his head in her lap. The room erupted into tears. Even Mr. Grayson looked away, visibly moved. What would the judge decide? And how would Max's final wish change everything? The day of the final hearing arrived, and the tension in the courtroom was palpable. Every seat was filled with reporters, supporters, and townsfolk who had come to witness what had become the most talked-about case in their small town. Max lay quietly on a padded blanket near Sarah's feet, his breathing shallow but steady. The once vibrant golden retriever now seemed a shadow of his former self, yet his presence was enough to move hearts. The judge entered, her robe swaying as she took her seat. The murmurs in the room hushed into silence as she addressed the court. Today we will hear the final arguments in the case of Max, a dog who has brought us all here under extraordinary circumstances. Let us proceed. Mr. Grayson's lawyer stood first, his tone firm but measured. Your Honor, while we sympathize with the family and understand their emotional attachment to Max, this case isn't about sentiment. It's about public safety. A dog, even one as loyal as Max, can become unpredictable when under stress or pain. My client and his family have the right to feel safe in their neighborhood. He gestured toward Max. The dog's paralysis does not negate his capacity to lash out if provoked. We believe it is in the community's best interest for Max to be relocated to a facility where his behavior can be managed. The words hung heavy in the air, but Daniel, Sarah's lawyer, stood calmly, his confidence unshaken. Daniel called Sarah to the stand for her final testimony. She clutched a photo of Max as she approached, her hands trembling. Taking a deep breath, she began. Max isn't just a dog. He's family. He saved my children's lives, protected us, and brought us more love than I can ever put into words. Her voice cracked as she continued. Yes, Max growled that day, but he was in pain. He's never bitten anyone. He's never hurt anyone. All he's ever done is give his heart to this family and this community. She held up the photo, a young Max playing with her children in the backyard. This is who Max is. Not a threat, not a liability. He's love. And even now, as he lies there barely able to move, he's still teaching us about loyalty, courage, and what it means to never give up. Tears streamed down her face as she concluded. I'm not asking for much. I'm just asking for Max to spend whatever time he has left with the people who love him most. The room was silent, save for the occasional sniffle from the audience. Even the judge seemed to wipe her eyes discreetly. Just as Daniel was about to conclude their case, the judge raised her hand. Before I make my decision, I'd like to see Max. Sarah hesitated, unsure of what to do. The vet had warned her that Max's condition was fragile, but she gently unwrapped the blanket and placed him on the floor. Max looked up at her, his tired eyes filled with trust. The courtroom watched in hushed anticipation as Max slowly lifted his head. His tail wagged faintly, and then, with visible effort, he began to crawl. The sound of his claws scraping against the wooden floor echoed through the silent room. He moved toward Lily, Sarah's daughter, who was sitting in the front row. She knelt down, tears streaming down her cheeks, and held out her hand. Max reached her, rested his head in her lap, and let out a soft sigh. It was as if he was saying, "I'm home." The courtroom erupted into tears. Even Mr. Grayson wiped at his eyes, visibly moved by the dog's unwavering love for his family. The judge cleared her throat, her voice wavering as she addressed the room. This court has seen many cases, but none quite like this. What we've witnessed today is a testament to the extraordinary bond between humans and animals, a bond that transcends words. She looked directly at Sarah. Max is not a danger. He is a symbol of love, loyalty, and resilience. This court rules in favor of Sarah and her family. Max will remain in their care for the remainder of his days. Cheers erupted from the audience. Sarah collapsed into her seat, overcome with relief and gratitude. Lily hugged Max tightly, her tears soaking into his fur. "We did it, Max," she whispered. "We did it." As the courtroom began to clear, Mr. Grayson approached Sarah hesitantly. His expression was softer, almost apologetic. "I didn't realize," he began, his voice trailing off. "Max is remarkable. I'm sorry for putting you through this." Sarah managed a small smile, her emotions still raw. "Thank you," she said simply. "I hope you'll come to see that he's not just a dog, he's family." Grayson nodded, extending a hand. "If there's anything I can do to help, let me know." The story of Max's courtroom battle spread far and wide, touching hearts across the nation. Donations poured in to support Sarah's family, covering Max's medical expenses and more. Letters from strangers arrived daily, sharing stories of their own pets and the love they brought into their lives. Max spent his final days surrounded by the family he loved, his tail wagging softly until the very end. When he passed peacefully one sunny afternoon, the community came together to honor him. A plaque was placed in the local park, reading, "In memory of Max, a dog who taught us the meaning of love and loyalty." As Sarah walked out of the courtroom that day, Max resting in her arms, she whispered, "You're our hero, Max." Little did she know, his story would inspire countless others to fight for love and hope in the face of impossible odds. The courtroom victory brought relief and joy to Sarah's family, but it also left them emotionally exhausted. Max, their beloved dog, had been granted the right to stay with the family he adored, and it felt like a miracle. Yet, as Sarah carried Max home that evening, she knew his time was running out. Max's condition had worsened over the weeks of the trial. His energy was fading, and every step toward justice had taken its toll on his fragile body. Despite the strain, Max still wagged his tail faintly when Sarah spoke to him or when Lily laid beside him, reading her favorite stories aloud. The family created a special corner in their living room, filling it with soft blankets and Max's favorite toys. They spent every moment cherishing him. Max's presence brought warmth and love to their home, even as the reality of his condition loomed over them. The story of Max's final wish and the courtroom battle had spread far beyond their small town. Local news channels covered the trial, and soon the story reached national headlines. Social media buzzed with posts about Max, with hashtags like Max the Hero Dog and Final Wish trending across platforms. Strangers from across the country reached out to Sarah, offering words of encouragement and sharing their own stories of beloved pets. Donations poured in, covering Max's medical expenses and helping the family rebuild from the financial strain of the trial. One evening, Sarah received a letter from a woman in another state. The letter read, "Dear Sarah, your story moved me to tears. I recently lost my dog, Bella, and I know the pain of saying goodbye to a loyal companion. Max's courage reminded me of the love Bella gave me every day. Thank you for fighting for him. He's not just your dog, he's an inspiration to all of us." The support wasn't just emotional or financial. Local businesses pitched in to help the family. A carpenter built a custom wheelchair for Max, making it easier for Sarah to take him outside. Neighbors organized a park dedication in Max's honor, creating a space where families could gather with their pets and celebrate the bond between humans and animals. Though Max's health continued to decline, his spirit remained strong. Sarah and her children focused on giving him the best days possible. They created a bucket list for Max, filled with small but meaningful activities. A picnic in the park where he could lie under his favorite tree, a short walk using his new wheelchair, surrounded by his family, his favorite meal, grilled chicken, and a small piece of Sarah's homemade bread. A final visit to the beach where he could feel the sand beneath his paws one last time. Max's last days were filled with love, laughter, and quiet moments of reflection. Lily often lay beside him, her small hand resting on his fur, whispering secrets only the two of them could share. Jacob, who rarely showed his emotions, was often found sitting silently with Max, stroking his ears and thanking him for being their protector. On a sunny afternoon, Max passed peacefully, surrounded by his family. Sarah held him close, her tears falling onto his golden fur as she whispered, "You've been the best boy, Max. Thank you for everything." The family buried Max in their backyard under his favorite tree, marking the spot with a simple headstone that read, "Max, our hero, forever loved." Max's story didn't end with his passing. His legacy lived on, inspiring countless others to fight for their pets and cherish the bonds they shared. The park dedicated in his honor became a gathering place for families and their dogs. A plaque near the entrance read, "In memory of Max, the dog who taught us the meaning of love and loyalty. May his story inspire us all to cherish the ones we hold dear." Sarah and her children found healing in the community's love and support. They started volunteering at the local animal shelter, helping other pets find their forever homes. Lily would often sit with scared or injured dogs, telling them about Max and how he had been a brave, loyal companion. Sarah also began sharing Max's story at local schools, teaching children about compassion and the importance of standing up for what they believe in. "Max wasn't just our dog," she would say. "He was a reminder that love is worth fighting for, no matter the odds." A few months after Max's passing, Sarah received an email from a national animal advocacy group. They had heard about Max's story and wanted to honor his memory by creating a grant program in his name. The Max's Wish Fund would provide financial assistance to families struggling with the cost of caring for their pets. Sarah was overwhelmed by the gesture. "Max would have loved this," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "He always gave us so much. Now he'll be helping other families too." The grant program became a beacon of hope for countless pet owners. Stories of dogs saved through Max's wish began to circulate, each one a testament to the enduring power of his legacy. Sarah kept a scrapbook of these stories, adding to it every time she heard about another life changed by Max's memory. Max's story wasn't just about a dog's final wish. It was about the unbreakable bond between humans and animals, the power of community, and the importance of never giving up. Sarah's unwavering dedication to Max showed the world that love knows no bounds. When you love someone, human or animal, you fight for them no matter how difficult the journey. Sarah often said, Max's story united people from all walks of life, proving that compassion and kindness can create miracles. Even in his weakest moments, Max inspired hope and courage. His story reminded everyone that every life, no matter how small or frail, deserves respect and dignity. As the video concludes, the narrator's voice softens, accompanied by images of Max's smiling face and wagging tail. Max's journey touched hearts across the world. If his story moved you, don't let it stop here. Share this video, subscribe to our channel, and join us in spreading hope, love, and resilience. The screen fades to a heartfelt message. In loving memory of Max, you may be gone, but your story will inspire us forever. As we reflect on Max's incredible journey, one thing is clear. His story is more than just about a dog. It's a testament to love, resilience, and the unbreakable bond between humans and animals. Max showed us that even in the face of impossible odds, hope can shine through. If Max's story touched your heart, don't let it end here. Join us in honoring his legacy by spreading this message of love and courage. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay connected with more heartwarming tales that celebrate the beauty of the human-animal connection. Leave a comment below and share your own story of a pet that changed your life. We'd love to hear how they've inspired you. And don't forget to like and share this video with your friends. It might just be the inspiration someone else needs today. Together, we can keep Max's spirit alive and continue making a difference for animals everywhere. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.